for taking time to let me tell you a story, one with several interlocking themes, of lifelong friendships, of finding a life calling in unexpected places, of encountering strong headwinds in turbulent seas, of striving to build lasting peace in the most difficult conditions imaginable. At the end of this story will be the beginning of a new chapter in the lives of young people who are seeking to discover the meaning of these same themes in their own lives. My name is Kai Dambach, and I want to tell you about a new fellowship program that is being set up to honor my dad, Charles F. Dambach, or Chick as most of you know him. A group of his classmates from Oklahoma State University have come together to create an endowment fund at their alma mater to honor him, because his career has made a huge difference in the lives of people around the world. The endowment is for students at the university's School of Global Studies who, it is hoped, will follow in my dad's footsteps in striving to bring about global peace. This presentation will explain the origin and purpose of the Dambach Fellowship and explain why OSU is a fitting location for it. Let's first talk about my dad and learn why he stands out for this honor. You may know he was nominated by 2 U.S. congressmen to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's see how that came about. My dad was born and raised in the Columbus, Ohio area, home to Ohio State University and the football team known around the world. Dad grew up as a jock, an athlete with above-average talents that won him a football scholarship to OSU. No, not that one, rather to Oklahoma State University in a town called Stillwater. While his football career was cut short due to injury, he witnessed the African-American players on the team experience racial prejudice from their coaches. Watching this injustice right there on the gridiron, though, planted a seed in my dad's consciousness. College campuses in the 1960s were undergoing tumultuous pressures, from the civil rights movement to the Vietnam War and to academic freedom, and Oklahoma State was not immune to them. My dad became interested in the Vietnam War through his participation on the debate team, where he met his mentor, Dale Stockton. My dad then began actively opposing the war, initiating debates within dormitories, and was involved in helping convince then-Senator Fred Harris of Oklahoma to turn against supporting the war. As chair of the committee that helped bring a variety of major speakers to campus, my dad facilitated students and faculty to be exposed to such people as Barry Goldwater, Hubert Humphrey, Julian Bond, and Han Soo-yin. Some of these invitations were canceled by the university administration, fearing they were too controversial. This led to my dad joining the free speech and academic freedom movement at OSU, including writing articles for an off-campus newspaper. These experiences served to reinforce my dad's commitment to those who seemed out of step with the mainstream. Decades later, back at OSU, my dad created the Stockton Brooks Lecture Series to honor Dale Stockton and Margaret Brooks, whom he had come to respect through her encouraging students to stand up for their First Amendment rights on campus. My dad's Peace Corps service was in a small fishing village in Colombia off the Caribbean coast. He helped them form a workers' co-op so they could get loans to purchase motors and nets for their boats, as well as to share in the revenue of their efforts. These 2 years laid the foundation of my dad's vocation of peacebuilding. Next, my dad served as executive director of several nonprofit community arts and development groups, where he learned the skills of consensus building and running effective organizations. Some of these included international sports associations, where he picked up the techniques of global diplomacy. Then, he was hired to rejuvenate the National Peace Corps Association, which had been struggling. During his 7-year tenure, he helped turn it into an avenue for returning Peace Corps volunteers to focus their ongoing concern for peace in the world. About this time, my dad got a call from an old Peace Corps colleague who had served in Ethiopia, which had become embroiled in a border war with Eritrea. His colleague urged my dad to join him, as private citizens to travel back and forth to East Africa over the course of the next 2 years to negotiate a peace agreement between the two countries. Finally, a settlement was reached. The group was recognized by the leaders of both countries for creating the spirit and momentum that made the agreement possible. They performed similar peacemaking services in other nations, most notably in Mali and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In Mali, the president even designated my dad as a knight. While my dad is best known for his global peace-building efforts, he also served other nonprofits in his career and helped strengthen many of them through his speeches, consulting, and publications. One group he led for a few years was Operation Respect, which is focused on building peace within school systems. Other groups he had a role in included the United Way and Special Olympics. He has lectured widely, and his TED Talk, Why Not Peace, has become very popular. He counts dignitaries from around the world as his close friends, and he and my mom have hosted many in their home in Maryland. My dad's professional career culminated with the leadership of the Alliance for Peacebuilding, an international network of 130 agencies around the world. This video clip, produced several years ago, encapsulates what he learned about peacebuilding.
War is not natural, nor is it inevitable, nor does it determine who's right in a conflict. All it determines is who can inflict more pain and suffering on the other side. Is that any way to settle our differences? I really think not. The cost of war is enormous. Tens of thousands, even millions of people die in warfare absolutely needlessly. Millions of people are displaced. Social and economic progress is absolutely destroyed in developing countries that are desperately poor. There's one estimate that says the average cost of a war is about $58 billion. And what we do as peace builders is provide an alternative to the use of violent force to settle our differences. The most important thing to be effective as a peace builder is to build trust. They trust us because they know that we have no objective other than finding a way to resolve these conflicts without the use of violent force. Here's the interesting thing. Over 90% of wars these days are not settled on the battlefield. They are settled through a negotiated settlement. The point I like to make is, let's bypass the warfare and go straight to the negotiated settlement. What better legacy for your family and for your children than you helped make this world peaceful?
The Peace Corps volunteer that called my dad to go to Ethiopia with him was John Garamendi, who would later be elected and still serves as a U.S. Congressman from California. My dad even became his chief of staff for a while. And one of my dad's Peace Corps trainers in Colombia was Sam Farr, who also served as a U.S. Congressman from California. It was these two congressmen who wrote my dad's nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. Acknowledging that my dad deserves a fellowship in his name, you might have asked yourself, why house it at Oklahoma State University? Of course, that's where he earned his undergraduate degree, first met many lifelong friends, and began his life of service. But, in addition, you might not know that OSU has a strong legacy of international leadership in higher education. It began because OSU, as a land-grant school, simply expanded that concept to an international level. For example, in 1950, its president, Henry Bennett, led OSU to worldwide recognition, serving as the first director of the Point 4 program, which was the forerunner of USAID, Agency for International Development. Since then, OSU has added services and programs on its Stillwater campus, which greatly increased its number of international students and helped build a truly global learning environment. OSU has a relatively new program called the School of Global Studies. The endowment's founders think this school is where Chicks Fellowship should be located for several reasons. First, their program is only for master's students who are serious about a global service career. Second, with only a handful of other dedicated financial support programs, the new Dambach Fellowship could really make a difference and influence the direction of the school. When you walk into the lobby, you are immediately struck with the question displayed on the wall, how will you change the world? Their mission statement reads in part, to strengthen the global focus of the educational, research, and outreach functions of the university, and to prepare students, staff, and faculty for careers with a global impact. For example, the school facilitated the university's adoption of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which has placed it into the upper levels of higher education. The impact ranking performed by the Times Higher Education, a UK-based higher education media group, placed OSU as number 4 among all universities in the United States. The founders hope that the school will focus special attention on Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions in keeping with Chick's life work. The curriculum prepares the students to become practitioners who will work, just like Chick, in a non-governmental organization abroad or one at home that has an international mission. The 4 tracks available to them are all important. The Dambach Fellowship founders stress their particular interest in the middle 2 tracks, Global Leadership and Development, and Global Communication and Public Diplomacy. As a demonstration of their mission, the school partnered with Catholic Charities to have OSU and the wider Stillwater community become a home to 70 Afghan refugees. Initiated in 2021, the refugees receive housing, language training, cultural orientation, and job skills. This is an example of a real-time case study and international cooperation that the school desires to sponsor, allowing the campus to serve as a learning laboratory. The dean of the school is Dr. Randy Kluver, who is a global educator having taught in China and Singapore. He has administered other international studies programs, but he likes to say that the one at OSU is unique because it focuses on training students to understand and address global issues such as international crises, development, and conflict, rather than geopolitics, area studies, or traditional security concerns. This distinction is what really sets OSU apart. Here are Chick's classmates from the 60s who are spearheading this fellowship. Chick has been very humbled that his old friends from Oklahoma are honoring him in this way. The endowment that is being created in Chick's name will cover tuition and fees for graduate students selected to receive the fellowships, and be a tool to help create global citizens who can become leaders in building a more peaceful world during this critical time and for decades to come. We hope you will join us in helping launch this endowment in Chick's honor. A single gift would be greatly appreciated, but perhaps a manageable monthly gift of a smaller amount would better suit you.
In school, I studied a lot of philosophers, and I absorbed everything Albert Camus wrote. I was particularly impressed with his essay on the myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus, you may recall, had been condemned to push a rock up a hill only to have it roll back to the bottom for eternity. It was the ultimate punishment, futility, and absurdity. However, Camus reinterpreted Sisyphus and his rock as a metaphor for the human condition. To Camus, the rock represents the purpose and values we may ascribe to our own lives. As long as we have a meaningful purpose, a worthwhile rock to push, we can overcome futility, failures, and disappointments and keep on pushing. Camus concludes the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. My rock, my purpose, has been to do whatever I can to make the world less violent, more peaceful. My colleagues and I push with joy, and we achieve occasional successes. Camus introduced his essay quoting the Greek philosopher Pindar, saying, "O my soul, do not aspire to immortal life, but exhaust the limits of the possible." I like that. We get one bite at the apple of life, so give it everything you have. For me, that means exhaust the limits for peace.
Our entire family is very proud of him. Throughout the years, he's been a role model for us. His classmates from over 50 years ago were ready, willing, and able to put together this endowment, and we are honored to be part of it. We thank them, and we thank you for considering joining them in this endeavor.
What better legacy for your family and for your children than you helped make this world peaceful?